If you've spent any time reading money blogs or watching YouTube videos about finances, then you'll have probably heard of the FIRE movement. Let me explain. So FIRE stands for Financial Independence Retire Early, and it's considered to be the pinnacle of money management, promising a life of relative freedom and, more importantly, no work. It's probably a topic that is worthy of a video or two. Even if you feel like this is something that is out of reach for you, the principles of FIRE are sound, and you could probably stand to learn a thing or two from them. Welcome to the Looking After Your Pennies YouTube channel. My name is Charlotte Jessup, and I love talking about finances and financial education. I am on a mission to spread the word about all things money so that you can make informed decisions around your own personal financial situation. In this video, I'm going to be explaining all about the FIRE movement, and we're going to cover these topics. Number 1, what is FIRE? Number 2, what are the different types of FIRE? Number 3, how do you achieve FIRE? Number 4, how much money do you actually need to retire? And number 5 is, do you actually need to retire? So let's jump straight in with what is FIRE. So let me break it down into 2 sections. First of all, let's look at the financial independence part. For most people, this means having enough money in savings or income from investments to cover their expenses every month without having to work. This could mean that you've paid off all your debts, you're mortgage free, but it doesn't have to mean that if you have enough income coming in to cover those expenses too. Ultimately, it means that you have enough money to stop working and still be able to live the same standard of life that you are used to now, or perhaps an even better one. Now, the retire early bit is probably a bit more obvious. It means quitting your job and not working again, or having the option to do that if you want to. When most people think of early retirement, they think maybe like early 60s, 50s, but actually there are people within the FIRE movement who are retiring in their 40s, their 30s, and sometimes even in their 20s. For many, chasing this dream requires sticking to 3 main principles. Number 1 is reducing your expenses. Number 2 is increasing your income, and then the third part is investing the difference. But I'm going to go into this in more detail later in the video. For now, let's look at the different types of FIRE that are out there. The basic idea of FIRE is the same whatever strategy or route you are taking. But over time, the FIRE movement has evolved, and there are now different ways that people are aiming to achieve FIRE. It is important to acknowledge that FIRE is going to look different for everybody. It's not going to be the same route, the same outcome, because there are lots of variables that are influenced by your personal situation. Over time, FIRE has evolved, and there are now 3 main categories that it falls into. The first one is lean FIRE. This is where your lifestyle is cut back to a minimum. You are going full out on the reducing your expenses. Now, this means that not only are you able to save more money in the build-up to FIRE, but actually when you achieve FIRE, you're probably going to be living a frugal existence too. Now, the benefit of this is that you are likely to achieve FIRE sooner. This is because you don't need as much money to actually trigger that event. However, it does mean that your lifestyle after FIRE is probably going to be limited in some way too. You will have to use all those frugal living strategies to help you get there, and the chances are you're going to have to continue those once you press the FIRE button. Some people breathe a little sigh of relief when they get to the point where they could achieve lean FIRE, but they decide to continue on. The next one is fat FIRE. So this is kind of like the opposite of lean FIRE, in that you want a more affluent and abundant lifestyle once you've achieved FIRE. Now, you might have been living frugally to help you get to that FIRE point, but once you've reached it, maybe you want the extra little luxuries that you expect from retirement. Now, obviously, this is going to require more money, so it means that you are going to have to wait, probably, a little bit longer before you're able to press that FIRE button. The benefits of this are that there's no cutting back once you actually retire. You should have enough money to be able to do all the things you want, whether that's travel, live in fancy houses, eat out all the time, and there are some real perks to aiming for that number. The third one is something called barista fire. So this is where you have enough money to maybe quit your main job, but you want to keep working, maybe part-time or doing some freelancing just to top up your income. So this isn't a true retire early strategy, but it does mean that it takes the pressure off your work. So maybe you have enough money coming in to cover your basic expenses, but you then use part-time work or freelancing to top that up. Like I said, there are lots of different versions of FIRE, and you may be listening to this and thinking, oh, you know what, I feel like I maybe want something between this one and this one, or perhaps I could achieve this one but with a little bit of extra work or a bit more money. That's fine. Your version of FIRE, if this is something you want to pursue, is going to look different from somebody else's. It's a very personal thing. You can call it whatever you like, think of a new name, and just make sure you are working towards your own personal solution. So how do you achieve FIRE? So I've mentioned this a bit already, but there are three main things that you need to do to achieve FIRE. The first one is to reduce your expenses. Those people that are on the journey to FIRE actually know their money inside out. They know exactly what's coming in and what's going out. They then look at taking those outgoings and cutting them back to the bare minimum. This can be through simple money management strategies, or it could be by taking frugal living to the extreme. It also means things like paying off any high interest debts and maybe even becoming mortgage free too. Once those payments are out of the way, you can start chucking loads of money into your savings and investments, and it will help you get to that magic FIRE number. Also, by reducing your expenses in the build up to FIRE, you are preparing yourself for a lifestyle where maybe you don't have as much expenses after you hit the FIRE button. So this means that you have got your expenses down to a minimum, so you actually need less in the pot afterwards. So becoming used to a frugal lifestyle can actually be beneficial both before and after achieving FIRE. The next one is to increase your income. This is the easiest way to be able to save more money. In reality, reducing your expenses only takes you so far. There is a limit to how much you can cut back, but there is no limit to how much more money you can make. If you can avoid lifestyle inflation as your income increases and move that money instead towards your savings, then there are some real benefits to earning additional income. Now, this additional income can be achieved through pay rises and promotions, it could be through side hustling, or it could be through changing jobs or building passive income streams. Wherever that income comes from, you are just continuing to increase that gap between what your expenses are and what your income is, which leads you on to the third part of the FIRE journey. Now, this third part is saving and investing the difference. For many people in the FIRE community, they are looking to invest their money into things like index funds and ETFs so that they are growing their wealth over time. Now, I should say here that this is not financial advice. This is a purely educational video. When it comes to investing, there are risks involved. Your money can go up, but it can go down. So you need to be aware of what you are getting into before you start investing. But this is a real staple in the FIRE journey. People are taking that difference between their expenses and between their income, and they are trying to save and invest as much as they can. They're looking to build their money over time so that they can reach that magic FIRE number sooner. In addition to this, people look at investing in other systems that can bring in income. It's not necessarily all about investing, but if you can create a cash flow from other income sources where you don't have to work your main job to get that money, then this can be beneficial once you hit FIRE too. An example of this is, say, investing in rental properties. If you have an income from rental properties, you don't necessarily need a lump sum sitting in an investment account before you press the FIRE button. Instead, you can live your life off that rental income. So how much do you need to retire? Now, if you are working on creating some sort of cash flow to cover your expenses, like I said, rental income or other passive income streams, then you just need to make sure that you have enough to cover your expenses and any lifestyle choices that you want to make. If, however, you are looking to achieve FIRE through investments or savings, then there is a general rule that you can use. This answer generally lies somewhere between 25 to 30 times your annual expenses. Now, this works on a 4% withdrawal rate from the pot and is an idea that was championed by William Bengen when he looked at historical performances of the stock market. He basically worked out that if you withdrew 4% of your total portfolio each year, then you should, based on historic trends, have enough money that it will last forever. Obviously, the flaw in this is that we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We're just looking at the past and hoping that the same thing will happen going forwards. And you need to be prepared that the value of your investments might go up and down, and that 4% might increase or decrease over time. So you need to be flexible on the amount that you actually take out of that pot. But let's look at the maths behind this. So if you need $2,500 per month to live the lifestyle that you feel comfortable with, then the calculation is going to look like this. You need to do 2,500 times by 12 to give you your annual expenses, then times by 25 to give you the amount that you would need to be able to withdraw 4% of that every year. So for this particular figure, that works out at £750,000. Now that might feel like a big number, but actually when we're looking at investing this money, we're hoping that it's going to grow over time. So I'm not expecting you, or nobody in the FIRE community expect you to be able to save all of that money. Instead, you can use some investment strategies to help grow your money too. Time to start investing though if you want to start on your FIRE journey. So the final question to tackle in this video is, do you need to retire early? The answer is, no one is making you do anything. The FIRE experience is all about giving you freedom and choices. It can be about making work optional. That means if you want to retire, by all means, go ahead and retire. But if you love your job or you want to at least continue working in some capacity, that is an option too. Ultimately, this is about a financial peace of mind situation. It's where you are able to quit work if you want to. Maybe you want to just take a couple of years out to travel, and then maybe you'll think about coming back and working again. By achieving financial independence, you have those choices. You certainly do not have to retire if you don't want to. It's there, though, as an option. Even if you feel like you are not going to be able to retire before the state pension age, there are still some good things within the FIRE movement that could help you become more financially secure. The idea of reducing your expenses and increasing your income are sound money principles. Reducing your expenses will mean that you will have more choices when it comes to retirement, and it will mean that you'll have more in your pension pot to play around with because you've been increasing your income over time. And if you just take those basic principles, this is what most people in the money community are telling you to do on YouTube videos and in blog posts anyway. Make sure that you understand your expenses, try and increase the amount of income you have coming in, and save and invest the difference. So there you go, that is the FIRE movement explained, and I hope I've answered some of your questions around this topic. It's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to be working towards FIRE, and like I said, this is a really personal situation. However, I think that most of us would agree that having some sort of financial security and time freedom is the goal. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give me a like too. Let me know in the comments if you are working towards FIRE or if you are on some other sort of financial freedom journey. I would love to hear from you about that. Don't forget you can check me out on other social media platforms too, and I would love to see you over there. Thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!